Okay, now you guys are just actually fucking with me, because this is the most likes I've ever seen on any comment on the channel at all, I think, at this point, at least within a week. So within 5 days, Harshit's comment here got 235 likes. That is so many. That's so many likes. Like, I understand that I made light of it, that it's haha funny, let's meme on it, let's join in and have fun with this, let's like his comment. I literally saw a comment on there that was like, I'm liking this for the memes, even though I don't remember either of them. And it's like, cool, great, nice to know that I am now a slave to Harshit's whims, and everybody else just laughing at me in the background. And of course, as I said last time, this is all in good fun. I don't actually have a problem with this. It's just kind of funny in its own right. But anyway, I will be getting to Prismatic Proverbs first, and then doing Knight's Crown of Flowers after that. And without further ado, let's go! Ooh. Ooh, we back in it immediately. Ooh, the vibes. The tone on that drum. It's perfect. There's all that texture I love. God, I'm getting lost in it. And I'm barely a minute into this, I think. This is gorgeous. I feel like I'm not even reacting at this point. I'm just experiencing. I wonder what that sound is. That one. It's definitely a drum of some sort. It's like a hand drum of some sort. Bongo adjacent, maybe? Got some talking drums in there. Oh God, it's so chill. What is this supposed to play during? Oh man. Oh, it just beautifully leads out to what? This game has ceased to amaze yet. This one might be my favorite vibes yet. So far, there have been so many amazing songs, but this one has the best vibes overall. I love that. Of course, bringing back the Swahili, you've got to. And again, a lot of the percussive stuff in this is just gorgeous. Definitely a few returning kings from the prior songs, the talking drum being one of them. There's a lot of percussive elements in here, those shaker effects in there as well. Great textures being thrown around, just like I've mentioned in the past, but there's still that one in there that I can't really tell what it was. I feel like it might have been just like the edge of a drum of some sort, probably just another skin drum. Couldn't tell you which ones. The rim clicks can definitely sound kind of samey if you don't have a very specific type of instrument, like a taiko drum, for example, that have a very specific rim click that just resonates like crazy. For this, it could have been any other sort of skin drum, like a bongo or a djembe. It could have been anything. I don't know. So I'm not going to try to figure out what that is, but I loved how crispy that was in there. And then they had another, like, almost a clave-esque, like, clacker in there that was, especially in the, like, second half, was taking up a lot of that space in that high end. It was largely keeping the offbeat together as opposed to keeping the downbeat together like the rest of the rhythm was doing, which that's a great combo, a great juxtaposition of the two. Having those two in separate audio ranges is a very good way to keep the brain working, because you're hearing both extremes of the frequency range we tackled. That lower end, especially with the talking drum, that like boop, whoop sound that was in there, that's a beautiful tone to have in the lower end. It just kind of keeps everything bouncing and alive. A lot of good rhythmic vibe there. Of course, it's a percussive instrument. And then on the top, having that like clacker sound, just keeping something up here so that it's not only the voice, you know, it's tying those two worlds together in the low and higher ranges, with the voices kind of hitting the mids and mid highs, especially with how they sing in a lot of African traditional languages like Swahili. They're very nasally. There's a lot of resonance in the head chamber, so there's just a lot of that higher tone. So not having anything up there percussively might have felt a little empty, or like the voices were just not doing much up here, or trying too much maybe to keep that frequency in check. So having that other instance of a percussive element tying back to the low end is a very good way to bring all that together. There were definitely instruments in here that were percussive and melodic to an extent. I can't tell exactly what they are. I'm not sure what those instruments are, but it almost sounded like somebody tapping on a can. It must have been something metallic or at least metal adjacent. I'm not sure exactly what they would have used for this, but it sounds so cool. And it just has like that one note. There was like 2 or 3 of them at different frequencies. So they were all just hitting the one note, and you could just hear that they were going on, kind of like how a cowbell works in that way, or a woodblock, for example, just hitting something that resonates just enough to give you one note, but doesn't have the range to do a bunch in one. It's just a percussive piece. You hit something, it makes a sound, and just putting a few of those together, you get this really simple, really nice, very vibey sort of atmosphere that comes with this sort of percussive heavy instrumental, and I adore that so much. The vocals were so good in here again. Gotta mention those. Love the harmonies in here. The voices were all blending so well. Like I said, in that high range, they were all just kind of floating up in there, and I feel like if they didn't have that stuff in the higher range, it wouldn't have sounded nearly as good and tied together in the high end. So I'm really glad that they did include that. But I'll also contradict myself and say that I've heard plenty of just pure vocal work from the African continent, and all of it is so well done because it's just the essence of music. The spirit kind of comes through in that way. You don't have to overthink the melody or how things are going to work together melodically and harmonically. Like, you just kind of go and let it flow, and it's so natural, and that's why I love this organic feel. So all in all, really good. Definitely one of my favorites, if not so far my favorite, but I do have another one to listen to, so let's get to Knight's Crown, shall we? Okay, more melody being focused. Strings. Okay, we're not doing the exact same vibe as last time. Beautiful progression, though. A little more magical with this one. Beautiful flute. Oh. Oh, my soul. This one has a different, like a completely different sound. We're not in West Africa right now, at all. Whoop. A little bit of it. God, this flute. This is still a very interesting approach compared to what we just listened to. Let it fizzle. What what a great ending too. Man, okay, both of these were great for completely individual reasons. This one had one of the best melodic lines I've heard out of this album, out of this area. Again, not really feeling very West African in this one. Definitely doesn't have a lot of the same energy that the last song did. Very few of the influences, very few of the instruments even. It's a lot more just like European Western instead. The flute might have been South American. A lot of wood flutes kind of end up sounding samey, but that's just how music has evolved in the world. We've shared influences and we've shared things with other countries over the years, over the generations that we've been around as a race, and it's just like, okay, you're gonna run into very samey sounds. So I can't tell where that flute is coming from, for example. Definitely a wood flute, just couldn't tell you if it was a wood flute from the West or the East. Almost impossible a lot of the time. But before people come at me with pitchforks, obviously there is a tonal difference between something like bamboo and flutes made out of bamboo versus like poplar wood or birch, something that is an acoustical wood that we use in the West more often. But that's kind of irrelevant to the point. The point is I really can't tell where this flute is, so it's hard to say where that influence was coming from because it also had such an extreme focus on the cello in this one. Great, beautiful sound, absolutely gorgeous instrument, one of my favorite instruments of all time, but also that's not what I've come to know from the regions that we've touched on. Stuff from South America, stuff from West Africa, maybe a little bit of South American in there as far as like South North America, if that makes any sense. The south part of the United States is more what I mean when I say that. Very confusing over here. We got a North America, a South America, and a south of the north part of America, as well as Mexico that kind of counts for that. So it's like, where are we? But influences from everywhere nonetheless. This is kind of a similar thing that I hit on in the Lord of Eroded video where like this influence is different. Like in that comment thread I debated, while yes, it might not sound like a Latin American tone, the Latin sound is there. It's very Latin. It literally had Latin in it, and a lot of the influences from Europe are in that sound. And how much more ancient Latin America can you get? The Spanish conquistadors brought a lot of musical influence and change over to Latin America when they settled there. And while, yes, that's not necessarily the native sound, it definitely plays a role as, like I said, to imagine that dragon as if they were Spain coming over and pulling that influence from another location to usurp what was there natively and kind of take control of that. And that's what they were representing. So that's kind of what the dragon, I felt like it was representing to me at least. I just didn't word that in the video too well. But this is kind of a similar thing where like this might be referencing something in the game that I'm unaware of, or an area that's closer to another region that might have some more cultural crossover. And I don't play the game, so I'm not sure where this location is nestled in on the map, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like, I remember the Port of Ormos stuff I did forever ago and talking about that. There was such a cultural blanket that was being covered in that. And this feels kind of similar where it has some of that native influence in there, but just not a lot by any means. So it might be something closer to a border or something that's used as a trade route, something like that, or at very least just a cultural hub of this location, be it like a major trading center. But also I feel every single time I get into that sort of thing, I feel like I'm reading too far into it. And while people say it's nice that I read into things and try to make sense of the world that's in here through just the music, there's definitely a part of me that wonders if I'm ever pushing it too far to the point of almost being offensive to that degree, because like I don't know, and I don't want to get something wrong as far as the influences of a culture goes, especially one that I'm not a part of in any way, shape, or form. So there's definitely that part of me that goes, should I be saying this? Should I be making these assumptions? And while I'm not necessarily worried about being canceled for that, because I don't think people would, it's still like, I feel a little dirty trying to do that and trying to break down something that I do not have that much information on. And while I'm going to still try my best and I'm not going to change that approach, I definitely try to tread water carefully around those subjects because I do not know and I don't want to act like I've been trained or raised in these cultures and have a true clue of what they're actually going for here. But I think I'll call it there and stop yapping. So thank you all so very much for watching. If you have another request you want me to get to, leave it in a comment down below. I will not be picking her shit again next time, just because I want to give somebody else a shot. So please, upvote somebody else in the comments. Let them have a chance. As much as I have loved Harshit's comments and all of the recommendations he throws out there have been great so far, I still want to give somebody else a shot, so I'm gonna go with somebody that's not him this time. No matter how many likes he gets, not gonna do it. But I also know that he knows that, yeah, every once in a while, somebody else should get a shot. So if you have something, please let me know, and maybe I'll get to it next time. And of course, other than that, if you enjoyed this video and you want to follow me and support me for those in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!